Shocking video shows an accused murderer lash out at her defense attorney as a judge agrees to push back her upcoming trial.
You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
Yeah, it was certainly an attack, and I've been in so many courtrooms and so many cases, and this is the first time I've really seen a defendant physically go after their own attorney.
Court video shows Taylor Schabusiness lunge at defense attorney Quinn Jolly before she's restrained by a sheriff's deputy. It happened in Green Bay, Wisconsin on February 14th. 25-year-old Schabusiness appeared in Brown County Court for a competency hearing. Schabusiness, who is accused of murdering and dismembering her lover, 24-year-old Shad Thyrion, last year, was set to go to trial next month. But at the competency hearing, her attorney asked Judge Thomas Walsh for 2 more weeks, hoping a defense expert could testify about Schabusiness's mental status. When the judge ruled Schabusiness's trial could be pushed back to May, she physically attacked her attorney.
And the judge was basically looking at a future date, and then all of a sudden, that's when she got up and attacked her attorney.
Video shows Schabusiness sitting with her hands in her lap before abruptly standing up and attacking her attorney. After that, a Brown County Sheriff's deputy breaks up the fight and works to restrain her. He continues to wrestle Schabusiness to the ground before the courtroom is evacuated. About 1 minute into the struggle, another sheriff's deputy rushes into the courtroom to help in the restraining of Schabusiness. A third sheriff's deputy rushes in seconds later as additional backup. Reporter and anchor Brittany Schmidt was inside the courtroom as all the chaos unfolded.
She is wearing a belt and her handcuffs are attached to that belt. So she didn't have a lot of range of motion, but you do see her lead with her elbow and lunge at her defense attorney. He puts his hands up to defend himself. And the deputy is very close by, within feet of her. He gets her to the ground rather quickly and maintains control of her. He holds her down as they call for backup. She did have her foot wrapped around some cord on his belt. And that's when they said, okay, we need everybody to clear the room because for safety reasons. So everybody was escorted out of the courtroom at that time.
Schmidt, who works for local Green Bay station WBAY, says she's followed the disturbing case for months, but has never seen the defendant act out.
I've covered Schabusiness in court, I would say a half a dozen times now. And every time I see her in court, she's silent, she is motionless, she's straightforward, very little emotion, in and out, no big deal. So this is not something that even I expected to see from her. I know that her defense has brought up questions about her competency and her actions in jail at the time, but it was definitely not something anybody expected, and everybody was really shocked when they heard the commotion, and then you see what was happening, and we kind of just all watched.
In February of last year, then 24-year-old Schabusiness was arrested and charged with Shad Thyrion's murder. This came after Thyrion's mother found his decapitated head at the bottom of her stairway. Investigators say Schabusiness murdered Thyrion after she began choking him during sex. She later told investigators she had been smoking meth and shooting up trazodone. After Thyrion was killed, investigators say Schabusiness dismembered his body and performed sexual acts on it. She allegedly put a leg and foot in her vehicle and left Thyrion's head in a bucket. She later told investigators, quote, "I can't believe I left the head though." She has since pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect to her charges.
I think this case has kind of grabbed national attention just because the nature of the case and the details in the criminal complaint are extremely gruesome and extremely violent. And it's one of those things where you never think it happens in your own backyard until it does.
But Schmidt says there were no indications at Tuesday's hearing that Schabusiness would lash out.
You see the moments right before the attack where Schabusiness is just kind of motionless. She doesn't say anything during the attack. Her attorney is just sitting there. He's not talking at all because at this time the judge was talking about a future trial date. So there's really no commotion at all. And then you see the attack and the deputy comes in and grabs her, takes her to the ground. And, she's in handcuffs, which are attached to her belt. So he was able to hold her down rather rather quickly and keep her that way, even as she's fighting and pushing back and kicking and stuff like that.
Schmidt herself is caught on camera reacting to the fight.
Even I jumped back and kind of moved closer to my photographer because it was just so shocking, and we were just kind of stunned at what we were watching and seeing happen.
Video also shows Brown County Sheriff's deputies' quick response to the attack.
So I reached out to the Brown County Sheriff's Office today, and they actually said that their deputies acted as they were supposed to, as they were trained to make sure that everybody was safe in the court. And we saw that when we were in there. The deputy who was with Schabusiness had her down on the ground within moments of the attack. He held her down the whole time.
Following the attack, Schmidt says news cameras caught Schabusiness speaking with sheriff's deputies, asking what happened.
You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
You can't do that here.
After that, Schmidt says everyone was allowed back inside the courtroom.
And then once we are kind of brought back in, everybody just kind of sat down. The judge came back out. We went back on the record. And the judge did not address it at all. He just moved right into talking about what's next, when can the next date be, and when should we have this competency hearing. So he did not address the attack or say anything. Because of the commotion in the courtroom, I did not watch the judge and see what he did because we were all so shocked.
As the judge discussed a future trial date, Schabusiness's attorney made a shocking announcement.
They kind of tentatively talked about May 15th, but it was never set on record. They just kind of tentatively put it out there because they had to make sure that the defense was okay with those dates, that the prosecution was okay with that date, and victims or witnesses were okay with that date. And when Judge Walsh asked the prosecution if they were okay, they said, yep, let us just check with some of our victims and the statements. And then he asked Jolly if he was okay with those times as well. And Jolly kind of just looked down, and he comes back up and says, yeah, I'm okay with that, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put a motion in to withdraw from this case. And the judge says, okay, I'll write that down, and we'll handle that at the next motion hearing.
The Brown County Clerk of Courts tells Law&Crime Network Jolly's motion to withdraw from the case will be addressed at Schabusiness's next hearing. If that's approved, Schmidt says there's no telling when a new attorney could be appointed.
Her attorney was appointed to her from the public defender's office here locally. I did call them today, but they were not able to comment on the case at all. So we don't know what this kind of looks like moving forward, because we know that our public defenders are really weighted down with so many cases. And because this is such a high profile case, they have to have certain qualifications to represent someone of this nature and of a crime of this nature. So tentatively those dates are on the record, but who knows how long this could be pushed back.
Meanwhile, Northeast Wisconsin and the entire country continues to follow the case closely.
I mean, every time we talk about it in our shows, you know, we're trying to be really respectful to the victim and the victim's family, but we also, you know, we call it a dismemberment case because that's what had happened. And so I think just hearing dismemberment, I think people automatically pay attention to it and question it and want to see what's happening. And so even on a larger scale, we saw the videos yesterday just kind of blow up and expand, and everybody has already now seen it, right? And that's why we were looking for new angles today. But even locally, a lot of people have their eyes on it just because of the nature of the case, and they kind of want to see what happens next.
While a May 15th trial date was discussed for Schabusiness, it's not yet set in stone. A March 6th jury trial date is still on court records, but the Brown County Clerk of Courts tells me that will likely get pushed back. Right now, Schabusiness is due back in court at the end of the month for a continued competency hearing. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Gillespie.